everybody, today we're going to be making 3 quinoa recipes that are high protein and vegan. We're going to have 2 sweets and then we're going to finish off with a savory. And yes, quinoa can be eaten in sweet dishes. If you prep the quinoa ahead of time, all 3 of these meals can be made in under 10 minutes. So if you want a quick breakfast ready in the morning, you can make these 3 meals. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I wish it was breakfast time right now, but it's like 4 in the afternoon and I'm wearing makeup. But I'm wearing pajamas, and so I feel like that's what counts, right? So let's just get into it. Okay, so the first meal that we're going to make today is a quinoa parfait. And I know that sounds a little weird, but trust me, it's good. So for this recipe, we're going to have quinoa, high protein Greek yogurt, cashews, chocolate chips, fruit of your choice. I'm going to be using a banana and a peach, as well as some chia seeds. Now I'll have the recipe in the description for you so you can see the exact measurements, but for now we are just going to throw things in and we'll see how it turns out. So let's start off with the quinoa. Okay, so once the quinoa is in, we're just going to add the yogurt. And then while we're chopping up the fruit, we want to put in the chia seeds so that they have some time to absorb the liquid from the yogurt. Now if your bowl is looking a little dry, maybe your Greek yogurt is a little on the dry side, you can actually add some almond milk, and I think that that really helps the consistency. So I'm going to go ahead and do that because that's what mine is looking like right now. If you're adding almond milk, you can eyeball it, just put it at whatever consistency you'd like. Keep in mind though that the chia seeds will absorb a lot of the liquid. Okay, so then you just want to stir this up before we start cutting up the fruit. Now just to get everything off my cutting board, I'm going to grab the cashews and kind of break them apart in my hands and put it into the bowl. Let's also go ahead and put the chocolate chips in there. I'm using dark chocolate. You can use whatever chocolate you prefer. Alright, now it's time to chop up the fruit. You can just cut it up. I like to cut it up into small pieces. You can do whatever you'd like. And now put your banana inside your bowl. Now next up is the peach. My peach is a little bruised because I may have squished it in the grocery bag. Alright, let's put our peaches in. Here we have it. Our quinoa parfait with banana and peaches. Okay, one thing I want to add is a pinch of salt. And I know that sounds a little weird because this is sweet, but I promise that that will make the flavors really come out. Alright, now time for the taste test. Get a little bit of everything, the banana, the peach, the chocolate chips, the quinoa. What do we get? A lot of the flavor comes from the Greek yogurt. I personally chose a strawberry Greek yogurt, and the texture you can taste, you can feel the quinoa, but it makes for a very interesting texture, especially when you add the crunchiness of the cashews, and then of course the chocolate chips kind of make it. Let's try our next recipe. Okay, so for this next recipe, this is my personal favorite. I actually eat this every morning. For this recipe, we have the quinoa, a little bit of cereal. I actually use Cascade Farms cereal because it's sweetened with dates, which I really like how it doesn't have added sugars. I mean, if you can call dates not added sugars, they're basically caramels. We also have some peanut butter, protein powder. For this recipe, we're going to be using protein powder. We also have chia seeds again, as well as this time, instead of banana and peach, we're going to be using apple for crunch, and then some strawberries for that extra sweetness, as well as, again, some chocolate chips for some additional extra sweetness. And I forgot to mention, but we're definitely going to need some almond milk for this recipe. So let's just get started with the quinoa. Throw it in the bowl. When the quinoa is in the bowl, let's just go ahead and add the protein powder. The protein powder is a big component of this recipe. I personally use this Orgain superfood protein powder because it tastes really good. The food that you're about to eat is definitely going to taste a lot like the protein powder. So if you use the bland, maybe straight up pea protein, it's going to taste like straight up pea protein for the most part. So you definitely want to add some good protein powder. Okay, once the protein powder's in, let's add some milk. And then let's stir it up. Depending on what consistency you want, you can add more or less almond milk. Let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did with the previous recipe and add the chia seeds ahead of time so that it absorbs the liquid. And stir that in as well. Okay, now while that is sitting, let's take these ingredients and put them to the side. And let's cut up our apple and strawberries. Okay, now let's just throw in the fruits. Next up, the cereal and those chocolate chips. Okay, now drizzle that peanut butter on here. Okay, now a little bit of salt again. And now for the taste test. Let's see, this is my favorite meal. This one is really good, mostly because of the peanut butter with the cereal and the fresh crisp of the apple, and then of course the chocolate chips. It's a really good, super easy breakfast that I highly recommend. And then plus it's super high in protein because of the protein powder. Okay, on to recipe number 3. Okay, so for our final dish, we're gonna be going the savory route, but still keeping it under 10 minutes. We've got quinoa, peas, tofu, some pita chips that are crushed up, avocado, tomato, nutritional yeast, and a little sauce that we're gonna make using hummus and a few other ingredients. Okay, let's start with the quinoa, just throwing it into the bowl. Next, we're gonna add the peas. We're gonna do a tad of olive oil. And let's salt as we go this time around. And then let's cut up the tofu, avocado, and tomato. Tofu can be eaten raw, so just go ahead and cut it up. We don't have to cook it. Okay, so before we throw these in, let's stir up our bowl. Let's also salt these too. And then throw them in. And already we've got a really nice, fresh looking bowl with the avocado, tomato, tofu, and we're gonna add some of the chips, but before we do that, we're gonna make the hummus sauce. For the sauce, we're gonna use some hummus, ketchup and mustard, and a tad bit of apple cider vinegar. We're just gonna mix it into a bowl and get it to a consistency where it's liquid enough to drizzle over our food. If it's too thick of a consistency, you can add some water to thin it out. Okay, now let's drizzle this onto our bowl. And then let's add a couple of the chips. And here we have it, a savory bowl that you can make in under 10 minutes, but packs a ton of flavor. Okay, let's try our creation. I'm gonna stir it up a little bit before eating it and then take a bite. The hummus sauce with the apple cider vinegar and ketchup really has a tang to it, but it's softened quite a bit with really the olive oil, and then of course the tofu and the fresh ingredients, the tomato, the avocado. But I really like this. You can also eat this for lunch, but because it's under 10 minutes, I thought it would be a good breakfast if you're into savory breakfast. Okay guys, that's it for these 3 high-protein, plant-based meals using quinoa that you can eat for breakfast in under 10 minutes. If you like these kinds of videos, let me know. Maybe you can subscribe, I don't know. And if you like quinoa and sometimes eat it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, just let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear some new recipes. These were just kind of a mishmash that I put together. So let me know what you think. Bye!